Terrell Owens recently on 95.7 The Game with Bonte Hill and Joe Shasky.
Mm-hmm.
And they asked him if if he were Aiyuk or Deebo, would he be offended that the Niners were shopping them at one point, which is such a deliciously leading question to T.O. because you know what he's going to say. So thank you, Bonte. Thank you, Joe. And thank you, T.O., for saying, yeah, I would have been offended too. Like, yeah, we remember T.O. He was offended by, if he didn't get the ball 15 times in a game, he was offended. So,
Right.
Cool.
Yeah. T.O.'s interesting, man, because he's such a good player. And when I was younger, I used to
Such
really
a bad
like
teammate too.
He's a bad. He is a bad. He's not my favorite person. I'll be honest with you. T.O.'s not my favorite person, but he was one of he's top 4 wide receivers of all time. I did love his Cowboy celebration. I thought that was nice, but he does seem like a difficult person to be around and to have on your team.
Yeah.
Yeah. So was I surprised that he felt that way? No, not at all. Like that's what you expect T.O. to say. What's funny though is he did bring up kind of what we were just talking about in regards to Brandon Aiyuk. That, I mean, he made the same point. The 49ers gave all those attempts to Deebo Samuel when they probably should have been given to Brandon Aiyuk, who's the one that got them there, is a better receiver, and he understands why Brandon Aiyuk would be frustrated. But he also talked about the overall, trading. Like the 49ers were looking, or not necessarily looking, but okay with shopping, I guess is the proper word, Deebo and Brandon Aiyuk. Like people need to understand that is 100% fact. They were more than willing to trade those guys, but it had to be for the right price. Ultimately, no one was willing to match their price, but they did have them out there as guys that they would willing to look at offers to replace. And so there is that dynamic coming into this season that's a little bit funky. Like, how are Brandon Aiyuk and Deebo Samuel going to be those adamant professionals to be able to look beyond that? This is just a business. Let's get to work. If Brandon Aiyuk gets paid, I think BA will, but I don't know about Deebo.
Yeah, I don't think Ayuk's the one you got to worry about because he wanted to get shopped. Like he seemed like he got permission to shop himself. Mm-hmm. And if he gets an extension, everything will be great. And even if he doesn't, his whole thing is that he's Mr. Professionalism, right? He's always in shape. He always plays his hardest. He always works out his hardest. He always practices hardest. Like, I don't think he's going to compromise that because that's sort of what he's leaning on in these negotiations. Deebo is the one you got to wonder about. Like, he wasn't asking to get shopped. He thought he was special here. And now all of a sudden he has to look at Kyle like, are we really friends? Is this just a business? Was that all bullshit? I don't know. Deebo's the one you gotta wonder about. What do you think?
Not only that, I mean, they drafted a wide receiver in the first round who's obviously a Deebo replacement for the future, right? They didn't draft a wide receiver in the first round because they want him to replace Juwan Jennings eventually. You don't draft a wide receiver in the first round to replace your third wide receiver. You do that because he's either your first or your second receiver. They're keeping Brandon Aiyuk. They've been expressing that. Supposedly negotiations are picking up, and they're going to try to get that done before training camp now with Brandon Aiyuk. So Ricky Pearsall was drafted to replace Deebo Samuel, whether it's this year or next year. That's why he's here. It does make you wonder how Deebo is going to respond to that. Is he going to be a good teammate to Ricky Pearsall? Is he going to have some kind of animosity? Is it going to get funky if Ricky Pearsall is taking targets away from Deebo Samuel during the season? It's a narrative. It's something to watch.
Well, there's two ways this could go, right? Deebo could be turned off by the situation and give even less effort than he already is, which would be incredible. Or he could actually use this to fuel him, and he could go back and give his best effort since 2021, considering his replacements in the building. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe the Niners are banking on that one, the second one.
Possibly, man. We'll see. I mean, Deebo is paid, right? If he never played football again for the rest of his life, if he invested his money correctly, he's set for life. Mm-hmm. So is that hunger in Deebo to get another contract? Because it's essentially a contract year for Deebo. Even though he's in contract through 2025, there's no guarantees, I believe, for Deebo Samuel after this season. So they could get rid of him and not have a heavy burden on their cap. I'm pretty sure that's the case, right? Am I incorrect about that? I know it's
true.
20.
That's true. Yeah,
That's true, right? So they can move on. So this is essentially a contract year for Deebo. How will he respond? That's something that we gotta to look with all of this stuff going on, drafting his replacement, him being in his last year of a contract. How motivated is he? Is he content with where he's at already in life, which a lot of people would be? Or does he come back better shape than ever and show the 49ers are tripping for thinking they could replace him with Ricky Pearsall?
Yeah, I just think it's good that neither of these players are actually Terrell Owens. Terrell Owens. I know a lot of people think Terrell Owens is great. To me, football is the ultimate team sport, and he's one of the worst teammates of all time. So all of his numbers, all of his accolades, I don't know. I'll take Aiyuk and Deebo, frankly, because those guys are team players. They are.
Tremendous
And
receiver.
Deebo never really was. Pardon?
Yeah. Tremendous receiver. Kind of a I've had like some communications with him, and he's a jerk. I can say to me, he was a jerk to me.
He was a jerk to his coach. He was a jerk to his quarterback. He was a jerk. He is a jerk. That being said, he was at the local pro day to watch his son practice, and I thought it was so endearing because I remember a few years ago, Jerry Rice Jr. was at the local pro day, and Jerry Rice Sr. was not. So at least TL showed up. You would have showed up for your kid. You're always posting your kids' track meets. It's really cool.
Proud of my kids, but I mean, you can be a good dad and a jerk at the same time. You know what I'm saying? Like you can be a jerk to everyone else, but also a good dad to your kids.
That's true. That's true.
So but there's also things to be said, like with Jerry. I kind of understand why Jerry didn't too, because there's times where I'm like, let me not be that
if I show up, then I have to do an interview, and it shouldn't be about me. That's true.
Right. Yeah. So I understand why Jerry did that too.